Hello everybody, hi, this is Joanne from Perilous Fight. Today we're going to talk about forces, invisible forces, that affect each and every one of us here. I wish that somebody would have told me about this when I was younger. This kind of goes into I didn't have a lot of guidance when I was younger. Um, so there's different forces that are at play every day, and some of them Some of the forces are the drama force, the jealousy force, the different um, evil forces. Like God is the strongest force. Gandhi said this, and I believe it to be true, that God is the strongest force. Um, when you think of the universe, his power is displayed right there, because he is the one that made the universe. Now, um, I believe that in heaven there is God, there's Jesus, there's the saints that are like the managers of heaven and our guardian angels. And I believe there's, the spiritual beings that God probably just makes another body for them once they get into heaven. That's the people that are down here, his children, and when they pass, their spirits leave their body and it goes up to heaven, where God probably just makes them another body. And I believe that in heaven there's also spiritual guides that we can have help us if we get into a quiet place, maybe what they refer to as meditation, where because your mind is kind of like a sending and receiving station. And I believe in order to activate the forces from above, that's what needs to happen, that you need to get to a quiet, safe place. I also believe that there's forces like the dark force, if you want to call it. Some people call the evil, like they give it a name like Satan or the devil, um, but I believe, and I have experienced real evil coming through human beings in the sense of abuse when I was, and it's a behavior. It's what they think about. It's what they eventually act upon. When I was beaten and abused later on sexually abused by my father. Pardon me. And I just, I feel that it's important to talk about these sorts of things because they are forces. Just as the happiness record is a force, I believe that there's a force that is come with the internet, just a big waste of time force. Like when people spend a lot of their spare time, so they think they have all this spare time, on Facebook or on Twitter, on social media, so much so on the apps on their phone, that it becomes a force in their life, and it's probably doing a lot more damage than they even realize. But there's also the force of, abuse. There's a force of, um, it's like the lures of this world. For example, a casino, a slot machine. You know, those are lures. They want to lure you in to get at your money. There's different lures, and sometimes it's really, really good looking people. Like sometimes they're a force in itself, that they focus so much of their time on how they look, which I admit I should focus more time on getting my health under control so I look better. I am a confident woman, and you know, I can hold my own. I'm not very photogenic on these sorts of things, especially with my glass. That's what I'm looking at now, because there's a glare right on my glasses, and it's irritating me, and I'm trying to move the camera around. But It is what it is, I guess. Um, so the different forces and the force of you don't know what you don't know force, which usually kind of hits you when you're particularly younger in your adolescence, when the world kind of is just coming at you, and your parents say, okay, that's it. You're a young adult, you got to start to figure this stuff out, and things start to come at you. But the reason why I talk about these forces is because they can really take you along the pavement of life and just drag you along there for years. If, you know, uh, people don't do what the world requires of them for it to not do that and to cause such harm. And examples of forces that are invisible, like air is invisible, gravity is invisible, um, uh, so are the other forces. And the force of when you try to make it, like they made that movie, um, The Wizard of Oz, and it's a very telling movie of what life is like. What you have, God instilled in all of us gifts and what we need to become actualized. But when we go for it, there's a force of the that is about preventing you, and it's very subtle sometimes. It's not an all out, oh, that's so obvious that this is happening. It's sometimes you only realize it when something happens to your life and maybe you lose everything and you realize that where are these people that are supposed to be my friends? Where are they supposed to be why aren't they encouraging me to go for the dreams that I've told them that I want to go for? And you making those dreams happen would, in your mind, include them in it. So why are they, you know, not supporting you and trying to discourage you and trying to make it uncomfortable and awkward for you to go for it? And sometimes they're in a force of their own that's come after them, and they don't even realize. Sometimes they're never going to realize. Some people never get it. Some people just are in a battle and they don't know it. Sometimes it's with an addiction, and they have their first love. They have their best friend, and you come second to that. They say you can't beat the bottle. You know. So I just wanted to talk about some of these forces because an awareness that when you step back and you say, is this person a real friend of mine? Would they be there? You know, what have they been telling me? What are the signs, the telltale signs telling me? When you step back and you just think about it, and you say, you know what, this person has been doing this. These behaviors are happening, and this is not something they usually do, and this is not something they usually say. They've started to say this when I explained to them that I wanted to go for such and such dreams. And there's like the force of I'm going to cheat on my wife. She's never going to find out about it. That foolish, hurtful, cruel force that slaughters so many women emotionally. Because you know how a lot of women think? This is how they think. A lot of women think this is what has almost they don't think this first part I'm going to say, but this is how it's almost been since they were a little girl. They've been read these stories, we've seen these movies, these fantasy, like you grow up and you get married and you live happily ever after. And you think, well, once you get married, that's it. It's just in her mind, this is it. We're always going to be together, and she doesn't even fathom the idea that you're not. And she certainly doesn't fathom that you're going to go out and cheat on her. But the cruelty that comes with that, it's like a force because there is a, a lot of men that I know that women cheat too, but right now I'm talking about the men cheating. because my primary focus is to help single mothers and kids. I'm trying to help other people, but that's my primary focus, and animals. Because more people need to be on their side. That's the truth. That's the reality of this world. So the beliefs, it's like it's become a force of beliefs. She'll never know. She'll never find out. She'll never leave me. Do you how many men lose the love of their life because it's too late? Because they have this belief that no matter what, she'll never leave me. And come to find that they're wrong. And they long for her for years. Years and years after, and they're never the same. Because this is a force and nobody's explained to them. Say, you know what? You need to challenge that thought. You need to get your mind out of that force, because that's like an evil force. It really is. And it's a part of the evil force that people don't take the time to tell men these things. Tell young guys these things. If you cheat on her, it's probably going to be a deal breaker. And it may happen over time. But she's never going to implicitly trust you like she did. She can never be madly in love with you again if you cheat on her. She may love you and stay, but you hurt her so bad to the core that you, as she knows you, aren't that person anymore. And her staying with you is going to eat at her spirit. Because she's going to know, I should have left. And eventually she does leave in a lot of cases. Sometimes it takes too long, but so it's, if you're not happy, separate. Don't cheat. Don't cheat on her. Because it's cruel. It's emotional cruel, and in the end you're the one that's going to long for her. It may not happen, and even if you don't long for her, it's just not the right thing to do. We as a society got too far away from right and wrong. Something happens and we're looking for like 50 reasons. Is this could have this possibly happened? They were looking for 50 signs. You don't need 50 signs. Common sense says it's happened. You know. So those are some of the forces, and the forces of different types of evil. Different types of evils. Like sometimes it's, you know, the terrorists, the young guys that don't have a lot of education yet. Some do have a lot of education, but some are manipulated by some real evil people. And they're using God, they're using manipulation techniques to get them to do these horrendous, horrific things to people. So, people need to start to stand up and act. They need to start reporting things. We need to hold, police have to be accountable. Judges have to be accountable. Their reasoning for not locking up some of these criminals because they don't want their tax dollars spent that way is not acceptable. There needs to be accountability, and people should start losing some of their jobs if they're not going to do what they're paid to do. Because there's a force going on in the courts where single moms are left alone to do the job of two adults. Now sometimes she's young and she's been manipulated. She doesn't know that he's just this bad guy because he's manipulated her. And she has kids and she's responsible and takes responsibility. She doesn't go get an abortion. And she tries to be responsible and do the moral right thing and have the baby, take care of the baby. But she needs help. And when she's a law-abiding citizen, there should be help there for her through the courts. But sometimes the judge doesn't want to enforce the order because he doesn't want his taxes or her taxes spent that way. That's a force that leaves Um, a lot of heartache in a family.